Okay, Lisa McWhinney Inc. So this is the Asian dish that I've been telling you about. So like I said, the lettuce got quite wilted. I procrastinated too long and the lettuce got quite wilted. So I ran it under cold water, wrapped it in wet paper towel and put it in the freezer. Didn't work. It's ugly. But I'm not going to waste it because when food is scarce, um, I'm not going to waste it. But I will show you what happened to it. Okay? Um, this is what it looks like now. Bring the camera forward here. Too much. I don't know if you can see that. This was supposed to be the lettuce that's going for the sloppy salad. You know, I want to put the dressing on the tray and then have this as the sloppy salad. And then this was supposed to be the bed for the rice. And then down here was going to be the dessert. And it's still going to be that, but it's not going to be as pretty as it was 2 days ago. All right, so bring back the camera again. All right. So I'm going to put the rice on top of that right now. I did show you in a few videos ago um, how to make the rice. So I'm going to put a bed of rice for the main course. I'm going to spill it over the edges just a bit, just to make it a little bit more appealing. And then I'm going to put a dollop for the dessert. I'm going to try to make the dessert dollop, somewhat round, just so it looks more like a small cake kind of thing. Okay? So I'm going to make that somewhat round. And actually, I'm going to make these a little bit more round because that was the intention was to make them a little bit more round. All right, and then the lettuce is at the end is for dessert or for a sloppy salad. And I bought these at the Dollarama. It was little plates and little spoons. So this at the Dollarama. So it came with a little spoon, a little Asian dish. I'll put that there just in case I want to put some mustard or something. And these also came with these little dishes too. Those little white, they came with that, which is nice for a little bit of sushi or something. If you want to try some raw fish or something, watch a YouTube video on sushi or maki. Maki's one of my favorites. Just set that aside, and I'm going to cut up this gourd. Like I said, it's in the pumpkin family. Don't recommend this unless you have a lot of experience with a knife and you have very strong arms and hands. These are solid, like solid, so very hard to cut. But I'm going to cut it in slices and see what happens, see what's in this thing. Like I said, I don't recommend this unless you have very strong hands. Okay. All right. Smells like pumpkin. I'm going to try this again. Yeah, I'm going to get out the serrated knife. Like I said, this is much better for sawing. This is a solid blade. Some of them, like this one here, is very wobbly, right? Not great. It can break and slap you in the face if you misjudge. So if you're going to buy a bread knife that you're going to use for sawing things, make sure it's a good quality one. That it has. Wow. And then turn it around. Wow, that's solid. Solid. But there's the seeds. See? There's the seeds. So I want at the seeds. So I'm gonna saw around this and get at the seeds. Because I want to include some of the seeds in the salad, the main course, and the dessert too. That's what I'm going to do. Create symmetry. Symmetry in the recipe. So I Googled how to get the seeds out of the, what this is called, these stringy things. There's stringy stuff in a pumpkin. So what the video said, I don't remember who put out the video, but basically they said you can pull this out with a spoon. See if I have a bigger spoon. Pull this out with a spoon. It's a lot of seeds. I've also made, they're very similar to pumpkin seeds. This must be a small pumpkin. It smells much the same. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. But there's a lot of seeds in here. I've also made seeds as a snack. Maybe I'll make some of these into a snack another day. But I'll try and, this is messy. This is very hard to cut, very hard to cut. If you really want to try this, it might be a good idea to put the whole thing on a baking tray and put it in the oven. You may very well be able to cook it enough from the inside out to have it cut more easily. You might. So that's yeah, it's got all this stringy stuff. Not as bad as a pumpkin, but it's got some stringy stuff. So I watched the video, and it said basically just to fill the bowl with water, and it'll separate from those little strands. It works really well with pumpkin, and basically the seeds will just, if you stir it around, they'll separate from the skins, or I don't know what you call that. It's not a skin exactly. The fibers, that's what you call it, the fibers of the pumpkin. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time doing that because I don't want to waste your time. But I will get as much out as I can, and then strain it. Strainer. Got some rice in there now. I didn't plan on that, but there's some rice in the strainer, so I just left them in. And I put it back on the bowl because it's still dripping, right? So if you want to keep your kitchen fairly clean, this is a strainer. You can get these at a kitchen store at Dollarama. It's got little hooks here so it can hook onto the edge of a pot. You know, when you can steam things, you put the vegetables here and a pot underneath with water and boil the water and you'll steam your vegetables. So yeah, so there's the pumpkin seeds. And I want to try this. I want to see what this tastes like. I'm going to cut a very small sliver. I want to see what this tastes like. It's sweet. It's the skin is quite textured, like it's quite firm and kind of scratched, like, oh, very nice flavor. Very nice flavor. Very sweet. Probably if you're, yeah, that was nice actually. You can almost do that as a dessert all by itself. So what am I doing here? The salad. I'm gonna cut some. I'm just gonna saw some off. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm just sort of playing, winging it as I go along. Oh, this might be good for the main course actually if I do this. So again, I'm only making a very small amount for each course, so I don't need to cut a lot. So like I said, this is how much rice I have for the main course right here. And so between the turnip and the between the turnip and the pumpkin, that's probably, I should probably move the camera if I'm going to do that. But probably about that much for a normal appetite. So I'm going to work on making the cheese sauce. It's over there. I'm just going to cut the turnip first. All right, same thing with the turnip. Very, very firm, solid rock. Like I said, there's a little bit of greenery coming out of this. You can actually cut this off and probably plant it, and you may have a turnip. This is a very waxy skin. This is actually easier to carve than the pumpkin. That's what it looks like on the inside. Usually with turnips, you have to peel them. So very fragrant. Smells quite a bit. So I'm going to peel off. It's a very waxy skin. I don't know if they wax it to keep it, but I'm just sawing off the extra. And for my purposes, this might be nice too. I'm going to try that. I don't recommend using the wax. I'm not going to do that right now. Very fragrant vegetable. I'm going to cut a piece off because I don't want to spend the time peeling all of it. But yeah, it's I'm going to turn it over, follow the same line, turn it over, follow the same line, and there you go. You got a cut turnip. And then you can continue filling the edge here. Again, if you put the whole thing in the oven, at 350 and bake it for a couple hours, or if you get your father or an uncle, again, some women can do this. If your mother or your grandmother did a lot of baking and mixing by hand, or my mom worked in the bar department at Blount, and so she was pretty strong, very strong in the arms. So she could probably cut this and did cut them. But just use your judgment. If you're afraid to do it, it depends. If it feels manageable, you're afraid, but you feel like you'd like to take a chance at it, go ahead. But you have to be able to picture yourself. A mentor of mine, Catherine Johnson, she was the program coordinator at, no, not the program coordinator, the volunteer coordinator at the Distress Center, the Lutherwood, not Lutherwood, what's it called? It wasn't Lutherwood, what was it? What should I call it? Anyway, she was the volunteer coordinator at Torchlight Distress Center, the call-in Distress Center, and another program in Dufferin, which was a call-in to seniors. So it kept seniors in their home longer because volunteers would call the seniors in their home every day, and telecheck it was called. And that kept seniors, able-bodied. If they didn't answer the phone, there was protocol and so on and so forth. I'm going to try this raw. Slightly bitter, I feel like similar to Brussels sprouts. Yeah, like bitter, like Brussels sprouts. Where's I going in the story? With Catherine. Oh, she told me when I got out of college for social services, I had, I think, 2 or 3 job interviews. One was at Denera, which was a group home for schizophrenics, and one was at the women's shelter. And at the time, I didn't have a lot of experience with children, and there would have been children at the shelter. I didn't feel confident that I could be like genuine around children. I felt like I would be faking it, never quite sure what to do. Like I didn't have a lot of confidence in my ability to help mothers with children in the shelter. And Catherine said to me, she said, you have to be able to picture yourself doing the job. And I couldn't picture myself doing the job. When I pictured doing the job, I got very frightened. Daenerys, on the other hand, it was a new experience, but I could picture myself doing the job. A little anxious, but I could still picture myself. So similar with this turnip, if you see me cutting this and you're like, oh god, I can never do that, I don't have the arm strength, then don't. Ask someone else who how they feel about cutting it. If you really want to try turnip, you can also sometimes get them pre-cut and sliced in packets in certain grocery stores too. So yeah, cool. I'm gonna cut a few slivers of this. Just random slivers. And I'm gonna cut a few little, like more like diced for the dessert. So basically what I did was I cut the piece in half, and then you can cut them in like little pieces like this, and that's how I would dice it. You can make bigger wedges, and then so that's I made little. It's gonna be for the dessert, little squares. I'll put that aside for now. Then I'll do the same with the. I might, instead of squares, since this has the skin on it, since the squash has the skin, or sorry, the pumpkin thing has the skin on it, I'm gonna cut that super tiny for the dessert. Super tiny. Again, this is comes with experience with a knife and practice, because basically I'm pushing down very firmly with my left hand to keep it in place, and I'm pushing down very firmly and sawing with the right hand. But yeah, holding it in place with my left hand is proving quite challenging. So I'm done with these now. I put this all over here. And this is going to be, so yeah, I think I was going to start with the cheese sauce, but I think I'm going to put these on as the dessert. That's right. Can't see that. Try this. This is the dessert. So it's got a bit of texture and a bit of appearance. It's a little more unique than cutting them all the same shape. I've really gotten into recently cutting vegetables that are going in the same dish, 3 different ways, leaving some raw, cooking some, cooking them in different methods, some fried, some baked, some scorched. So I'm going to start with this lettuce. So I'm going to make some sort of salad dressing here. So what have I got here? And I wanted to put the same theme. Like I said, this is going to be a sloppy salad. I want the idea to basically dip it in the salad and eat it, as opposed to with a knife and a fork. It doesn't look very good. Like I said, freezing it was probably a very bad idea, and if I thought about that a little bit more carefully, so I'm just going to spread it out a little bit and see if it gets any better. But like I said, when there's food shortages, we don't get to necessarily. I've got the salad. What am I going to do with the salad? So I'm going to pour some milk. This is homogenized milk. I'm going to pour it on the tray. And I wanted to put some consistency with spices and stuff. So I had picked, I'm just going to go with what I thought. I'm going to pick a little bit of cinnamon. Just a touch of cinnamon. Good for blood sugar, leveling out blood sugar. ginger. Sometimes the food banks, if you're using the food banks, will give you unusual things. You know, I never used to like ginger. This is and I keep it in the freezer. It often gets freezer burnt, but I use it anyway. So this is sort of what it looks like. It's got like a hard. It's I think it's a root, so it's got a hard stem type thing. If you can see that. Typically they peel it. This is all freezer burnt on the outside, and it's freezer burnt in general. So what I do, it still has some flavor to it. I cut it up really, really small, and like right now, I can smell, it. Whereas when it was in its solid form, I couldn't smell it, and right now I can smell it. So I'm actually freezer burnt means that the the moisture has all gone out or evaporated or whatever left the item, or the spice or the meat or the potato or whatever, and it's gotten so dry that it's actually like they call it freezer burn. I don't know where the burn comes from. So I can smell that. So I don't know if you can see that. Where's my hand here? It's not very good. Let's see here. So it's very powdered, right? And I'm gonna put some of that in the salad dressing just because I feel like it, and it's actually separating the cinnamon. Funny enough, the cinnamon just went, whoo, we're running away. And then I will put the rest in, or some of it, in the main course, in the rice. Then I'm gonna put some in the dessert. Symmetry. I think it's quite enough. So I'm gonna cut up a little bit more. Cut up a little bit more, just a tiny bit more. I used to like ginger. Ginger is actually very good for an upset stomach. Ginger is, they put it in Gravol now, but I don't recommend that. In fact, I don't really recommend Gravol. I don't find it's an anti-nausea. I find it just knocks me out, makes me sleepy, which is good if you need the rest and you've got an upset stomach. But for calming stomachs, I find ginger ale. They used to give people warm ginger ale when they had an upset stomach, or whatever, or when you've got a cold, I still find ginger ale is Canada Dry ginger ale to be one of the nicer sodas. It also works very well with juice. If you mix it with a bit of juice, ginger ale can be very nice. All right, so what else was I going to do? What's the other ingredient? Cinnamon. I didn't put cinnamon in here. I'm going to fry up the turnip and squash just for quickness. Fry it. I don't have a lot of time. I was going to make a sauce, wasn't it? Oh, we'll put. So milk tends to separate when it's heated. So you can't boil milk. You have to. So that's going to be my sauce. Put a little bit of oil in there, some olive oil, I think, just to keep it from sticking to the bottom. The oil kind of creates a bit of a barrier between the frying pan and the. I put it on medium. Stir it up. So I'm using a lot of cross-contamination. This is okay for yourself, maybe. Good food handlers will use clean utensils for everything. So if you've got 3 different dishes on the go, good to have a separate knife for each one, a separate wooden spoon or stirring spoon for each one, separate tongs or whatever. It's good to probably have 3 different serving utensils with each one. But I'm cooking for myself, and I trust myself enough to, well, first of all, if I make myself sick, generally speaking, I'm pretty good at um, resting or massaging my belly or um, you know, taking care of myself well enough that I can make myself better. That doesn't mean I take unnecessary risks. And I know my kitchen's clean enough that I don't generally get sick in it. Um, Someone else who has a more sensitive stomach, young people like children or older people sometimes have more fragile systems. So just again, be careful with the cross contamination. That means, if I use this spoon for the dessert portion, I probably shouldn't use it for the dinner portion because it's different items. That's another reason why keeping it symmetrical, like everything, everything, all same ingredients in each dish, we'll probably cut down on cross contamination too because it's the same vegetable, the same spices, the same rice, the same lettuce, or the same fish, so it probably will cut down on your cross contamination. The other thing I wanted to add is I had the idea to make a small. Again, I don't recommend you use your stove as a countertop either. Again, I trust myself enough that my mother taught me to be very careful around the stove. So I'm careful to shut them off. I'm careful to tap them if I'm unsure, or hold my hand over top of it to see if it's on or if it's heated. But again, keep your handles away from other elements. Just generally speaking, try not to put anything on top of an element. I have a very small work area, and it's not the ideal space, so I make it work. But ideally, probably not put anything on the element as a countertop. So I'm going to put some of this graham crumbs. I'll show you what this is. So this is Mr. Christie. This makes honey made. This makes the base of a cheesecake, the graham bottom of a cheesecake. I will warn you though, the directions on these new boxes say to mix the grainy powder and margarine or butter, and it doesn't say to cook it, but you actually do have to cook it for something like, I have the instructions from an old box, like 8 minutes or something. So if you've mixed the margarine and the graham and you've patted it into your baking dish, make sure it's an oven safe baking dish and bake it for 2 or 3 minutes, test it. But I believe it's 7 or 8 minutes that you bake it on. I don't know what the temperature, I'll check if I can. So I'm going to put some more graham on this rice, and I put some, and this graham is actually a little bit sweet, so it adds some sugar. I like to add sugar, coffee. Put some graham in the salad dressing. In my throat. I like to add sugar because, let's face it, with sugar and everything, all those processed foods and everything, they all have fructose, which is sugar from fruit. They all have, whatever else. There's sugar in pretty much everything. So I find if I put a little bit in recipes, like this kind of recipe, it cuts down on the amount of sugar I need, like from donuts or chocolate or whatever. And it also, because there's vegetables or rice or proteins like meat or whatever, it also helps the white sugar not spike in my system. So I've just brought this to boiling, so I don't get the spikes in the sugar, but I still get enough refined sugar to take care of cravings and things. So I've turned it down. I'm going to lift it up because it's boiling a little bit too much, and I'm going to turn it down to simmer. So I want these vegetables to be, they're probably not going to soften. They're such a firm vegetable that they're probably not going to soften in a frying pan unless I, cook it for quite some time. But I'm going to leave it for a little bit and I'll put a lid on it to see how it goes. So again, that's ginger, cinnamon, graham crumbs, and homogenized milk. That's what I put in the salad dressing, and that's what I put in the salad dressing. That's what I put on a bed of lettuce. So let's work on the dessert. That's the main course. This is the salad. The salad's pretty much done. That's about all I'm going to do to it. So I'm just, like I said, I'm an ideas girl. I just want to show you kind of what you can do. I'm going to put the lettuce in there, and I'm going to put a little bit of salt. Maybe that's good. All right, now I'm going to work on the dessert. What am I going to do with these? I think what I'll do is maybe pick my hottest frying pan. This is a very, very hot frying pan. It's a very solid base, very hot frying pan. I'm going to heat it up. I'm going to put some margarine. Use a different spoon here. Put some margarine. In there. What else? What would I like to flavor this dessert with? We have, I've got ginger. I'm going to put a little bit more ginger. What else? Cinnamon. A little bit more cinnamon. Again, cinnamon, ginger, milk is in all three of these. So I'm going to try and kind of put a little bit extra cinnamon because cinnamon is more typically a breakfast and that's looking nice. And what's the other thing? Ginger. Make this a little bit more flavorful for the dessert, since lots of people really look forward to dessert. A little bit of extra ginger. I'll leave it in slightly bigger chunks, just so with dessert you get, a little bit more flavor, a little bit more. I don't know how to put that. Intense, I guess. I like dessert. Dessert's one of my favorites. So yeah, that's butter, ginger, cinnamon, and heat up to boiling, and then I'm going to put the squares and the spheres in it, and I think I'm going to scorch it. So, scorch it. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat it, I'm going to stir it around and let it coat the turnip and the pumpkin. It's going to be pretty crunchy. I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy the texture of this because it's pretty firm. And then I'm going to leave it and I'm going to let it burn. And then I'm going to pour a bit of the milk over top of it to keep it consistent. And then, yeah, I'm going to pour myself a glass of water and we should be done. Again, I'm fairly disappointed. If I had done it right away, the lettuce looked beautiful 2 days ago. But procrastination happens, and I'm not going to waste the food. It's not ideal, but it teaches me that, not to be crude, but I heard that procrastination is like masturbation. You're only fucking yourself in the end. And that seems to be true. I learned with procrastination, I went to a workshop held by, it was a peer support group, so it was all peer run. There was no instructors or counselors. And someone did a workshop on procrastination. And, when it comes to dusting my apartment, for example, I think about all the things that have to be picked up and moved to dust everything. And before I even start, I'm overwhelmed. So in this course, they taught us that to do a little bit. So, I had a friend who would take this dishcloth, not the best idea. She would take the kitchen dishcloth, and I just turned off the main course, and she would just dust the top of the TV with it, And so I think that's basically, and that's what I think about when I hear that lesson to, do a little bit, as opposed to, say I'm going to dust my entire apartment. Because when I used to set that goal, I never made it to the bedroom because the rest of the apartment took so much time to dust that when it got to my bedroom, I couldn't do it. So the bedroom, and I always left it for last because the bedroom was the least visited place by guests. So I ended up always like my bedroom never got dusted, and that really bothered me. And then for a while, I would start with the bedroom so it would at least get dusted, but then the living room wouldn't get done. And yeah, so it works much better if I do a little at a time. I've also started to vacuum my furniture. I've got an attachment that I'm gonna cool this. I have an attachment for my vacuum that's a round little brush, and I vacuum the dust off of my furniture now. I didn't use the seeds either. That was supposed to be in here too, but I didn't use the seeds. Next time. Next time. Curious to see how this tastes. Really am. So this has gotten a bit. I don't know if you can see that, but it's almost thickening, right? It's almost thickening. So I'm gonna put a little bit over here, a little bit over here. I'm not sure this is Asian in any way, shape, or form, but put the milk over top. A little bit much for one. I'm gonna put the hardened stuff over top too. And then let this cool. How exactly am I gonna cool this? Can't quite run cold water over it. Yeah, I'm gonna take it out first of all. Put it in something. That would be helpful. Put it in a bowl. On this lid. And it's got a bit of a sauce. So I'm gonna drizzle the sauce over it. Maybe I'll leave it hot. I mean, I suppose some desserts are really hot. So we got that with cinnamon and graham and what else in there? Cinnamon, graham, and milk and butter. Interesting. They all smell completely different. All right, so to garnish it, it's looking a bit. I didn't put turnip in this one here. Well, another day. You get the idea. To garnish it, what am I going to put on top? I'm just going to leave it. So in the next video, I'm going to sample it. Peace. Where are we? Where's my ring? Unity, love, and service. Thanks for joining me.